Hello and welcome to Schneps Media's City Council District 13 debate for the June 27th Republican primary. I'm Robbie Sequeira, senior staff writer for the Bronx Times. All 51 city council seats are up for grabs this year, just 2 years after previous election cycle, due to last year's redistricting. Tonight, candidates seeking the Republican nomination in the council's 13th district will debate. The district covers East Bronx neighborhoods Throgsneck, Pelham Bay, Van Nest, City Island, and Morris Park. The area's current council member is Democrat Marjorie Velasquez, who won the seat in 2021 and after her predecessor, Mark Jonai, was term limited out of office. Earlier tonight, Ms. Velasquez and her three Democratic opponents took part in a debate. And tonight, we're going to hear from at least two of the three Republicans who are on the ballot. Currently, we have radiologist Kristy Marmorato, as well as George Havranek with us. The third, Miss Samantha Zherka, unfortunately is having technical issues. If she comes, we'll probably add her in, but as of yet, she's not here. So it'll be these two, which I guess gives you guys more time. I'll be serving as the moderator of this debate. Joining with me is my very talented colleague, Emily Swanson. Would you care, she'll be serving as the timekeeper. Would you care to explain the ground rules for the participants, Emily?
Okay, yes. So tonight's debate and all the other debates will feature 2 rounds of questions. The first round will include questions that we have prepared, but you, the viewers, will play a role in the second round. If you have a question you want to ask the candidates, feel free to submit them using the Q&A feature. Just click on the Q&A menu at the bottom of the screen, and we'll screen the questions that we receive, and if they're appropriate, we will put them to the candidates. So let's go to the opening statements. Each candidate has 2 minutes for their opening statement.
All righty, since we're going to be in alphabetical order, and there's only 2 people, but since we're in alphabetical order, it will be George, and then it will be Kristy.
Okay.
Well, thank you for hosting this, and it's a pleasure to be here. Good evening, everyone, and good luck to everyone. My name is George Havranek. I am a lifelong resident of the Spencer Estate community, and I have a wealth of knowledge about our low-density communities, and I have fought hard for them. And more importantly, I'm a family man. I've raised 3 children. I have simply worn many hats in my community. Currently, I am president of our civic association, where I have fought the MTA redesign, which I was going to take crucial bus stops from our senior citizens. I have fought during Hurricane Ida to make sure our seniors had proper food and beverage distribution. I have fought for our zoning. While a member of Community Board 10, I fought hard against the Bruckner upzone. And for that, I was dubiously not reappointed. I lost my seat on the board. In a previous time before that, I gave to the community in a different way. I was a youth leader. I ran a hockey clinic for approximately 20 years. I instilled values in our children. I taught them about discipline. I taught them about commitment. I taught them about accountability and responsibility. More importantly, our clinic was inclusive. We didn't turn anyone away. And, going forward, we look at what needs to be done here. We live in a community that is a very nice community, a beautiful community we were handed. And we have an obligation to those that are going to succeed us to hand something better. So we have that duty like our predecessors did. And we have to do everything we can in our power to do so. Now, also, in my resume, I also have experience in the union world. I was a negotiator. I heard grievances. I was an organizer. I also ran for president of my local. So I know what it's like to be in the mix of things. I have experience in a lot of areas. I attend local community board meetings still, community council meetings, precinct meetings. I have supported our NYPD by sticking up for them during various doxing incidents in our community when no one else will. I went to our local elected officials during these incidents and I got deaf ears, but we stood fast and stood hard with our people in blue. And we made sure that they were taken care of properly. And remember, our mantra, community is common unity, but also remember, resumes matter.
Ms. Marmorato, it is your response, your opening statement. I think you're muted.
Thank you for joining me as we discuss the important issues of our district. My name is Kristy Marmorato, and with your support, I will be the next Republican City Council member of District 13. I was born, raised, and educated right here in the Bronx. I dedicated my life to my community and to taking care of others throughout my work as a healthcare professional. I worked at University Diagnostic Medical Imaging right here in our district, specializing in women's health services for over 15 years. I've treated many of you, your mothers, daughters, sisters, and wives in their courageous battle against breast cancer. In addition to all of that work I have done in the healthcare setting, I am a founding member of multiple community organizations, such as the Mothers of 1900 and the Indian Village Alliance, where I have fought with my team against the Just Home Initiative. I am proud to have received the endorsement of the Bronx GOP, Bronx Young Republicans, and I'm excited to announce that I've been endorsed by all 5 Republican City Council members, including that of Republican leader Joe Borelli. This evening, I'm looking forward to discussing our issues, especially the ones our community is facing, and presenting you with the solutions. I hope my opponents will join me in tonight putting the people of our district before politics and abstain from bullying and slander. As a mother, Republican, and Italian-American woman, my values and community have always come first. And that's why I'm running. I'm here to fight the proposed upzoning and any overdevelopment that will negatively impact our community, to stand in support of small businesses, to always advocate for parents when it comes to their children's education, and to ensure the safety of our community, and that always comes first. The safety and quality of life of our district are my top priorities. I am running for you, for us, because I do believe that we build a stronger district together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And for everyone, Ms. Zherka has joined us. And luckily, since it's alphabetical order, you are next to give your opening statements. 2 minutes for the opening statement. Is there any other questions since you just joined in late that you have? But it's choppy. All right, floor is yours.
Is it mine? Okay, I'm so, because I could barely hear you.
Can you hear me? Yeah, 2 minutes for the opening statement. Sorry for this.
Okay, hi. My name is Samantha Zherka. I'm running for City Council District 13. I'm an Albanian daughter from parents who were persecuted from communism. I'm a mother of 3. I'm a small business owner in Throgs Neck in the Bronx. I was born and raised in the Bronx. I've lived in the Bronx my whole life. I'm running as a candidate independent of any establishment. You know, the former person who just spoke now indicated that she proudly is endorsed by GOP members. The GOP is as corrupt as she is. And I'm pretty much on this debate to bring out all the corruption, because that's what we need. We need a candidate and a representative in City Council that's going to tell the public the truth and is going to stand for truth and fight for truth, not nepotism and cronyism that's been taking place from the dawn of time by Michael Rendino and his nepotism family.
All right. Oh, Emily, this is your, sorry. I stepped on your toes a little bit.
Okay. All right, thanks everybody. Now we will move into the first round of questions, which Robbie will ask to the candidates. So in this round, each candidate will have 2 minutes for their answer, and the opponents will each have time to make a rebuttal. Rebuttals to direct questions for one specific candidate are 1 minute, while rebuttals to questions for all the candidates are 2 minutes. I'll be keeping track of the candidates' time as we go. Candidates will be alerted when the time has expired and will be muted if they don't promptly wrap up the responses. So we will maintain alphabetical order. The first question.
Let's go to, we'll go to Ms. Marmorato since it kind of cycles out. Actually, using a response from Ms. Zherka, Ms. Marmorato, you announced that you were endorsed by the Bronx GOP. There was a mention of Michael Rendino, your brother, who is a party chair. How do you respond to allegations or accusations of nepotism and the validity of your campaign on its own merits? I think you muted again. Sorry.
I believe that the people of our district deserve better than this. People in their political campaign and the mudslinging is absolutely ridiculous. They have no platform, and that's why they have to attack me and my brother. And it's unfair to the people of our district. Also, by saying those horrible words, you're diminishing my accomplishments as a woman and a mother. My focus has always been on putting people's needs before the needs of myself as a frontline worker. I showed up every day to the pandemic. I didn't run away to Florida. I provide women and their families with the tools that they need to fight cancer. And I put their health and the health of others before my own and that of my family. So when I become your next city council member, I vow to put the needs of our community over my own. Thank you.
Muted.
Her brother has done her campaign bidding for her while she's been inside of her house. Her brother made fun of my son's death. Her brother called her, and Dawn Sandow from the Board of Elections called the police on me to prevent me from registering as a Republican. Her brother has stopped at nothing but challenge every single Republican candidate for as long as he's been a GOP chairman. She talks about taking the high road when it's her and her brother. Just yesterday, her brother went in front of the other candidate, his fundraiser, and caused an extreme ruckus in front of a private business. Her brother has called every one of my employees and threatened them. Her brother has done everything to every single candidate for as far as I could remember. And she wants to talk about bringing values. Her brother owes my dead son an apology, and I will not stop. Because I'm a mother who lost a child, but when he mocked my son, he mocked the sons and daughters of every single parent that died from an overdose. I will not stop, but expose the truth to the people of this community. Her brother is in bed with the Democrat socialists. Her brother sells his like a whore to the Democrats. That's what her brother is. And I'm not going to stop. Her and her little well put together speech means nothing. The truth will come out. Her brother will have to resign. I will not stop until he does so. He is a thug and a farce and does not belong representing the people of the Bronx. He doesn't live in the Bronx. He has not lived in the Bronx for years. He is nothing but a sellout for the people of the Bronx, and that is why we are suffering with the one-party rule. She wants to talk about bringing healthcare to women. She doesn't do any bringing healthcare to anything. She's nothing more than a radiological tech. I'm a businesswoman. I fight conglomerates every single day. I've never lost a case. I'm a public advocate. I'm a business owner. I went from poor to rich. I'm a self-made woman. Nobody did it for me. Nobody's doing my bidding. I could speak for myself, I could fight for myself, and I sure as hell could fight for this community. And that's what I'm going to do, with truth at the forefront, for God and for people. She is a farce. Her brother is a farce. She's nothing more than a puppet who sits with strings at the top of her head, waiting to be told what to do by her husband, who is the Board of Elections commissioner. They are nothing but cronyism and nepotism in every sense of the word. Give it up, Kristy Marmorato. You are a joke. You will never make a good candidate. You will never make a good councilwoman. You and your brother are farces. All you want an expansion of power. Your husband makes $202,000 a year. When will you think it's enough to take
I muted. That was time, and remind everyone to be civil and be respectful. Just to keep some decorum in the forums. Mr. Havranek, it is your turn to respond.
Well, I have to say, I do validate what Samantha has said about the ruckus yesterday in front of my fundraiser. It was a poor display. Actually, they were questioning my petitions, fraudulent petitions that actually went through a court process. And we fought hard. And it was very expensive. Cost us over $20,000 because of challenges made by certain people that are affiliated with the GOP and the BOE. And the bottom line is we won at every level, but that didn't stop them. They are still going at it. They've attacked me relentlessly on social media for the last month. It's been a very hard time. And the bottom line is anyone that says there is not something going on behind the scenes is disingenuous. I am going to validate the part of what Ms. Zherka has said tonight, because she is telling the truth.
All right, let's move on to the second question. The District 13 incumbent, Councilmember Marjorie Velasquez, voted in October 2022 to approve a controversial rezoning of the Bruckner Boulevard. The plan, currently tied up in litigation, is slated to bring 348 units of housing across 4 sites in what was previously designated as low-density growth management area in Throgsville. What is your stance on the project? And if you were in the council member's shoes, what would you have done or what would you have voted? This is going to start off with Ms. Zherka, then we'll go Mr. Havranek, and then it will be Ms. Marmorato. You have the floor. Let me unmute you first. Okay. All right. Ready? Yeah.
There would have been an absolute no vote on the upzoning. I would have pushed for restructuring, retrofitting of vacant buildings within the city limits that are currently sitting there vacant. We can retrofit and begin the affordable housing process in those vacant buildings by retrofitting them into units, commercial buildings into units. There is a multitude of different prospects without upzoning a low density area that's suffering with infrastructure issues, from overcrowding in our schools to overcrowding in our hospitals to sewer, infrastructure failures. There's an abundance of infrastructure concerns that must take a priority, and if there's going to be any building, let's build senior centers, let's build trade schools for our high school students who are being failed out, passed along high school with the 4th grade reading level. We are failing our future to benefit rich billionaire builders who have a get-rich-quick plan, all the while people are suffering. It is a disgrace that she lied to the community and said that she would vote against it, and at the 11th hour, she voted for it. If I were city council then, as I will be in the future, the answer would be absolutely not. We have to take all residences into consideration when we're making decisions that will ultimately change the outcome of their life. They had a reasonable expectation when they moved into these communities to be able to live without the infrastructure declines and an upzoned area. We need to remember that they have a voice. They are taxpayers and they are citizens that deserve to be heard. And I will absolutely stand in support of the community 1000%.
Mr. Havranek, it is your response.
My stance is well known. I led multiple rallies and fights, and I started the battle. I was the genesis of the opposition to the Bruckner upzone. And for that, I lost my seat on the community board. Bottom line, what I would have done, firstly, I would have invoked deference, council member deference, and followed the community's wishes. That would have been number 1. Number 2, I would have looked at what's going on here, because there is an agenda by city planning to get rid of the suburban lifestyle that is in our low density communities. Because unknown to many people, this upzone includes 34 parcels of land, not just 4, and it was done mostly without homeowner knowledge. Other thing, I would have definitely brought the homeowners to the table with the property owners, not the representatives of the developers. And the bottom line is this: the LDGMA was highly fought for and highly sought under Councilmember Vaca. And for that, in 2004, we sacrificed parts of other communities and they were upzoned and they were R6s and R7s. And there are plenty of places in here that are R6 and R7s that are ripe for development. You could see what's going on now because the agenda was just to eradicate the low density zoning. And that's what they want to do. And the bottom line is, if this would have been no way, no how, I would have not allowed investor greed before community need. We would have went to the table. And if we had to shape it, we would have shaped it. But more importantly, I would have tried to amend the city charter. So that way, when a text amendment goes through, the community is known in time. And I would have piggybacked that with legislation in the council. I would have introduced legislation that would have gave something to the community, a warning, better than what's known now, because right now city planning only suggests the community is known and told by the developers. They are not told they have to do it. So in the city planning world, the fox guards the hen house, and that is a problem. So I would have had a multi-layered approach, and the community's wishes would have been my wishes, and deference would have been invoked, plain and simple.
And Ms. Marmorato, you have the final say.
Okay, so I'm going to do whatever I can to possibly undo what Marjorie Velasquez has done with the upzoning. And once I've exceeded and exhausted all my resources, I'm going to start holding the developers accountable. I want to know, being that I lived in that community 2 blocks away on Bradford Avenue, I understand that the streets are small, they're all one way, the infrastructure is not good, the sewer system's not good. So we need to know, where are they going to house all the storage for the equipment of the building? Where are they going to clean the cement trucks? Is the cement going to go into the sewer system that already doesn't work? Are we going to do it during school hours? What about the air quality to the students? There's much more to this that's going on that we need to really start to look into and hold the developers accountable. And I think that they removed the housing for the veterans, and we need to look into that again. I know there was some rumor going around that they removed that. So I think that we need to really put their feet to the fire and basically make sure they are doing everything that they promised us. Veterans, elderly children.
Third question. The Just Home proposal at Jacoby Hospital has stirred quite a bit of controversy in this district. As you know, this proposal would offer affordable leases and supportive services to formerly incarcerated individuals released from Rikers Island with complex medical issues. They would be housed in a currently vacant building on Jacoby's grounds in the residential Indian Village neighborhood in Morris Park. Starting with Mr. Havranek, do you support or oppose this project, and why?
I oppose this project vehemently, simply for one reason. This is all part of the Rikers Island land grab that is going to make developers rich. This is not just one project. This is the first of many. Many people call this an experiment, and that's true. They could rightfully call that. But we got to look at the bigger picture. The communities must ask, what is going to be expected of us going forward because of Rikers Island? Bottom line is they are building jails in the boroughs except for Staten Island. All the transition homes, service homes, and other homes tethered to this are going to be falling in communities that are not used to having these things. So we have to look at the big picture, the macro picture, the long-term picture, not this short-term myopic picture about what's going to just happen on this Seminole Avenue project. This is a bigger picture. And the bottom line is we have a mayor-centric city right now. And if the city council don't go along with them, the mayor tries to be punitive with them. And the bottom line is the think tank in the city council has to change, and it could change one seat at a time, because right now they have veto-proof power. And if we change this progressive caucus that allegedly broke up, which really didn't, because you can't break up a mindset. You might break up a team, and you're not breaking up the mindset. And the bottom line is we have to stop this think tank that is shaping every neighborhood and every community against the residents' wishes. And that's what got to be asked. The bigger question, what is expected of communities because of the Rikers Island land grab? Because this is part of it, and you can't get away from that.
Ms. Marmorato, your response.
I am adamantly opposed to the Just Home initiative. This building is less than 500 feet from where I live. If I walked out the front door, you can see the building from there. What you're doing is a disservice to this community and to the individuals in the program. It is an experiment. You're putting these individuals from one institutionalized setting right into another without the proper amenities to care for them. There is not a laundromat within a mile. There's the supermarket on Eastchester Road is closing, and there will not be a supermarket within another mile. We have one bus going in and out of the community. And it's very disheartening that these individuals are going there to seek medical treatment, but they are allowed to refuse medical treatment. So now you have just turned this project into another homeless shelter in our community. And on top of that, they measure their success rate by recidivism rates. As long as these individuals, they can commit crimes, but as long as it's not bad enough to land them back in jail. So basically, you can terrorize my community and continuously commit crimes and have a lifetime lease here. And it's not okay, not acceptable. And if I am in city council, I will make sure it does not go through. I welcome the city council members to come to my home, see the area, see the property, and see why it doesn't work.
And Ms. Zherka.
I would absolutely oppose this 1900 Seminole Fortunes Society project for, the same reasons that both candidates oppose it. It is a safety issue for all the community members. Senior citizens currently, without this project in effect, are fearful for leaving their homes in various areas of the 13 city council district. We have to consider our senior citizens, our children. The schools are in close proximity to the 1900 Seminole Avenue, which is really concerning. We don't know, and I guess we're not going to be told what these former convicts were in prison for, which is of a concern in itself. We don't know if they're pedophiles being released or rapists or whatever the case may be. The constituents, which are the residents of the community, should be paramount. Their concerns and their voice should be paramount. They've made a lifelong investment in the community. Morris Park, just like Throg Snack and Country Club and Pelham Bay, will be affected by this seminal project. Across the board, across City Council 13, our voices as homeowners and as residents, tenants, should be paramount over the prospect of a fortune-seeking company seeking to make money on an ideology that Fortune Society and Just Home is priority, and it should be paramount over innocence and the residents of the community. The other thing I want to say is this building, the very building that they wish to put formerly convicted people in, should be allocated to the First Trade School. We have a nursing shortage across the city. How about we turn this into a nursing trade school, a high school program where nurses and LPNs and radiological techs and CAT scan techs and various different fields within the medical industry gets to go to as early as 9th grade. We're failing out our students. We're failing out their future. We're failing out our children. And all I hear is this sensitivity towards criminals. What happens to the victims, and every single resident within the district is going to be victimized by this. Their property values are going to drop. People are going to be moving out and displaced from the very place that they have planted their roots to live for the rest of their life. It's disturbing, it's disgusting, and it would absolutely be a no.
All right.
That's all well and good. You have to look at this in a bigger way, because the bottom line is, if you don't want it there, where are you going to put it? You're going to make your problem another community's problem? Because the bottom line, if Rikers Island closes, these things are going to pop up everywhere. So the thing is, do not close Rikers Island. Make it more humane. You can do what you need to do, because I can tell you from talking to correction officers, life on either side of the bar over there is not good. And if you think these jails that are going to be in the boroughs are going to be any better over time, it's wrong. You're using a short-term fix to try and fix a long-term problem, and it don't work, because bottom line is the short-term does not include the long-term. The long-term includes the short-term. This myopic view is going to ruin every community.
I would like to also add, that they projected.
I'm gonna have to move on.
Okay, but I just want to say one thing. They projected $8.4 billion to repair Rikers Island And yet the projects, these other buildings that they're planning on putting up is going to exceed that. To retrofit what's already there is not going to be $8.4 billion. This is the city's plan to take Rikers Island and make it into a mini Manhattan at the expense of all residents within the 5 boroughs, the 4 boroughs, I should say. And it's shameful on them for not thinking outside the box.
As I said, the
All
Rikers Island.
right, that's we we got to move on. I'm gonna ask one more final question before I get into viewer questions. I'm gonna actually start with Ms. Marmorato, since both of you had a chance outside of the scope of to reply. I'm gonna start with you, Ms. Marmorato. If you are elected, you would be joining a 51-member council that is overwhelmingly Democratic. How would you work alongside Democrats, and what issues do you feel like you'd be able to find some common grounds that would work best for your constituents? You can start with that question.
So I'm a healthcare worker. I work alongside people of every political affiliation, religion, background. So I don't discriminate against anybody. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
What issues would you find, maybe a common ground to work for?
Family, parents, community. We are all there for the betterment of our community, and that's the common ground.
All right, Ms. Zherka.
I am a public advocate. I represent the public against insurance companies. Insurance companies usually don't want to pay the public when there's a catastrophe. I work across the lines all the time. I've never lost a case because I have the capacity to negotiate and make the deal happen. That's the same thing that I will do in city council. I would absolutely find common ground addressing the issue of our children's future, first and foremost, with bringing back trade schools as early as 9th grade, refunding the police because everyone wants safety at the forefront. We do not have, our crime rate has risen of almost up to 400%, rape 7%. This is a common ground that I think that every city council member would want to address so that we can bring back the first duty of government, and that's the protection of life. Negotiation is my key element. I'm good at what I do, and I'm going to reach across the aisle and negotiate with Democrats, independents, conservatives alike to get the job done for our children's future and for the people of this district. We deserve it.
And Mr. Havranek.
I could definitely work across the aisle. I've been endorsed by Democrats as well as Republicans. I have worked with Democrats and Republicans. I know Democrats as well as Republicans. The area I would focus on is public safety. Number one, everybody wants safe streets. Everybody wants a quality of life. What I would look at, I would revisit the criminal justice reforms done in the Mark Viverito Council, as well as the nuisance abatement acts. People are tired of the smoke shops popping up. People are tired of people going out and having dangerous criminals on the street. So these two laws must be amended in some way, shape, or form. And I'm not a lock them up and throw away the key kind of guy, but let's get some common sense back. Let's look at these legislations, because contrary to what a lot of people believe, recidivism was a problem prior to bail reform. 2018, we held 2 town halls in our CD 13 district that encompassed the 45th and 49th precinct. And I didn't see Ms. Marmorato there. I got to be honest, I didn't see her there. But the bottom line is, we knew we had a problem. And on the heels of that, what happens? The state comes and puts in bail reform and just compounds an existing problem. We've had people in our neighborhood rob a pizzeria, arrested 96 times. How many bites of the apple do you give? I don't know what it is, but it's definitely not 96. There's a problem. And those are 2 areas I would work on: criminal justice reform, nuisance abatement acts, because you got to be able to stop the smoke shops that are illegal right now that are popping up unlicensed. You have no tools. You got to give them tools, because remember, law enforcement has to work with the rules that the legislation that is crafted by the legislature. We have taken away certain tools from them, and we have to give them back in a proper way that doesn't reach a tipping point that brings us out of equilibrium.
I'd like to add to that as well,
I would
if
like to add
possible.
to that my name was mentioned.
Ms.
Okay.
Marmorato, you can respond. Your name, since
Okay.
your name was mentioned, you can.
So I'm glad that you brought up smoke shops. See, if you look along the community, my store signs are in quality small business all throughout the entire district. Unlike the 2 candidates that we have here, they're both in a smoke shop that illegally sells marijuana. Both of your signs are in there. It is a known pot shop. So all you're saying is just, you're contradicting yourselves, both of
What's
you.
the address of the smoke shop?
Excuse me, I'd like
What's the
to,
address?
George, I would like to
I'm
comment
not
on
done
that.
yet. I'm not.
Coming from a hypocrite,
I'm
coming
not
from a
finished
hypocrite.
yet. I'm not finished.
Christy,
Guys,
Christy, your
please
lines
stop
are
talking
well
over each other,
rehearsed.
or I
Your
will mute.
brother did a little bit of a good job for you here since he's been campaigning on your behalf. We put up our signs based on the stores that were willing to put them up. We do not endorse what do you call them, the smoke shops, any much more than we, as far as I could speak for myself, I am not in a position at this point to reject a business owner on the basis of your purported allegations that they're selling, illegal drugs out of there. You just disparaged the business, as you have been accustomed to disparaging other people, because you and your brother are notorious for that.
Okay,
Bullies are
wrap it
not
up.
acceptable.
Right. Okay, we're gonna go to audience questions. Please ask, unless your name is mentioned, please do not, after your time is over, your time is up, because this is just gonna continue to drag on. All right, we're gonna go on to what our viewers or our listeners want to ask about. Ms. Zherka, you will start first. Lori Peterson would like to know, how do you feel about the upzoning that could come with the new Metro North stations that are set to arrive around 2027. I apologize. This part of the forum will be 1 minute responses. Just want to clarify. So 1 minute responses, then 1 minute rebuttals. Ms. Zherka, your turn.
I think upzoning an area that has a very declined infrastructure is unacceptable. How do we sustain what we already are suffering with? We need to address the infrastructure, fix what's already broken before we can begin to expand and make what's already there suffer more. The upzoning is not the key in a low density area. It's just not the key at this point. Again, I will address the issue of overcrowding at schools, overcrowding at hospitals. We have the highest rate of police retirement post 9/11. We have overtime exhaustion. Pretty soon we will have an NYPD budget crisis. We don't have enough firefighters to sustain what is currently there. Our sewer systems are failing us each time it rains. There's lack of parking. The DOT is taking more spots with this ride share nonsense that's taking place. I mean, the list goes on. We need to address the lack of proper infrastructure before we could begin to consider any upzoning anywhere. There is vast areas that this sort of projects or any other upzone project should be looked into. The low density area is not one of them at this moment in time, considering that we lack the proper infrastructure to sustain our current conditions as it stands.
All right, Mr. Havranek. You're muted, hold on. All right.
Metro North is coming in. That's the bottom line. 10 years in the making. So looking, I'm not happy about it because it wasn't discussed during the hearings about housing and what was going to happen. That was never discussed, not properly anyway. Bottom line is we have to make sure that the development does not create instability. We don't want, because you have mandatory inclusionary housing and rentals in New York City, 15%. And you got to look at the AMIs, the area median incomes that are going into these buildings. You want to create stable environments, not transient environments. So we can't let them build shoeboxes where you can't raise families. You want to have them build for sustainability, for long-term sustainability, to build proper communities. Now, naturally, as you're closer to the station, I expect things to be bigger. As you get further away from the station, closer to the low density area, I would expect the zonings to be low, like an R5. I wouldn't want to see R7s, R8s over there. That's what you have to look at. You have to map out each sector, each grid, the way we have done before. I have done this many times, and you have to really do it carefully. This is not a willy-nilly thing. It's a very, very strategic plan.
George, I have a question for you.
Well, first of all, Ms. Martin needs to respond to the question.
So originally when we heard that the Metro North was coming to this area, we decided to buy a home over here because we thought it was great and it was going to open us up to the city and up to New Haven and Greenwich. And then we started to realize that this overdevelopment was coming along with it, and it was very concerning. So across 4 subway Metro North lines, they're going to do 6,000 apartments across 2 of them, and those are all within our district. And we are taking on more than our fair share of apartments and housing. We would like to maybe have lower buildings. There's no supermarkets in the area. There's, like I said, no laundromats. These people are not going to take the Metro North, spend $15 just to go to a supermarket on another stop. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And if they're going to bring in low income housing, how are these people going to afford to go on the Metro North to the city to go back and forth to work? I know I could barely afford it, and it's expensive. It's just not realistic. And they're also not bringing us any additional parking, which is a huge concern for the people in the community, because we have Jacoby Hospital right there, and the people in Jacoby, the workers in Jacoby, park all around the community. They do not park in the parking lot because they don't want to pay the $7. So it is a double-edged sword.
Here is a question that just came in, and it's pretty curious. There have been numerous amounts of school closings, especially of Catholic parish schools. This anonymous attendee would like to know, how would you prevent this from happening? I believe I started off with Ms. Zherka last time, so Mr. Havranek, it is your turn to answer that question.
The school closings around the area, especially the parochial and Catholic schools, have been problematic. My particular school, where I graduated from, my children graduated from, Our Lady of the Assumption, closed. How do you prevent it? You have to know what's going on there. You have to know how their finances are. You have to know the funding, how the funding is. But many of these schools are controlled by the archdiocese. So the bottom line is, you have to have some type of dialogue between the community, the school, and the archdiocese. Because in the end, it's the archdiocese that makes the call in many cases, especially in the one I'm speaking about, OLA. Now, luckily in OLA, Our Lady of Assumption, we had a nice school going there, the Earl Monroe Renaissance Academy. What a model. Dan Flores did a great job with his team. Good, listen, well-funded team, got to admit that. They give services to these kids like you would not believe. Anything they need, tutors, anything. Health services, you name it, they get it. And it's all based on a sport. You don't play basketball, but it's basketball themed. They use certain things, like in basketball, to teach certain things as far as the core curriculum. Now, that model is going to be used and integrated across the United States, from what I understand, speaking to these gentlemen. They're going to use it with Michael Bennett in Seattle in the football mode. They're going to use it in baseball with Ken Griffey Jr. So the bottom line is, you got to look at what's going to go in there too. But unless you have dialogue and communication with the school and the archdiocese, you're just barking up a tree that you're not going to be able to get anything out of. Because the bottom line is, they're very private and they like to remain private. The key is to keep them funded, and that's a tough deal.
Ms. Marmorato?
Okay, so I am a product of both public and private education here within the district. And I know that every child doesn't fit in a specific mold, and not every educational system works for every child. My child, I have a very small child who does go to a private school. And I think I would like to implement some kind of voucher program. Now, I know that next year, public school students get about $37,000 per child. My child's school teaches her at a fraction of that cost. So I'd like to help the smaller schools basically allocate money to the parents' choice, where we can pay for education, where it's like little to no out-of-pocket costs to the child and the parents. So I think that would be a really good thing that I'd like to really push to force in. And
Whoops. Apologies.
am I done?
Yeah, please. Yeah, I'll give you 15 more seconds. I'm so sorry.
You know, my child's school is a very small enrollment, and I feel like they benefit from the UPK program because it's bringing money into the school. So I'd like to help implement new kind of programs like that once I am in city council. I would really like to fight for that.
Ms. Zherka.
Hi, I would absolutely push for a voucher program for the parents. I would also push for a tax break on the parents, for parents who send their children to private schools. And then absolutely bring trade schools back to our high schools, and consider doing other programs such as the pre-K program for the parochial schools, and any pre-K program actually. It's absolutely a necessity that we keep all the schools open, charter schools, bringing school choice to the table, promoting more expansion on charter schools as well. Our children currently in the public school system are not being educated in accordance to the statistics in comparison to the charter school system and the parochial school system. We need parochial schools to stay open. We need more charter schools, and we need public schools to look into the two prospects of how the charter schools and the parochial schools are operating and bringing these children to a place where they're excelling in leaps and bounds, and how they can also implement some of these ideas so that the public school system children benefit from that sort of education. More parochial schools, more school choice, more vouchers, absolutely more charter schools, and a tax break for parents. My children, every one of them have gone to a private school, and I never got a tax break, and it's 3 children. So what about those parents that send their children off to private school? Maybe they should be, it absolutely would be something I'd push for, deserve a tax break. They are paying for public school, and yet they're sending their children to private school. And that needs to change as well.
Before we get into closing statements, I do want to ask one last question that came from a viewer, but you kind of want to formulate it. This has also been a very contentious debate, but if one of you were to get the nomination, would you throw support behind that candidate in a general election? And subsequently, how would you bolster the Republican Party's influence in the Bronx? Start with Ms. Marmorato, I believe, and then Ms. Zherka, and then Mr. Havranek.
So I am only running for the Republican and conservative lines, and I vow to support any candidate that wins the Republican primary. I have said this from the beginning. I am focused on the you in community, while the other candidates are basically focused on the I in community and gunning for that independent line. So if I don't make it past the primary, I will support anybody that does.
Ms. Zherka.
That is such a well put together sentence. I will absolutely support George Havranek if he turns out to be the victor of this primary. And I will absolutely not support the farce, her brother and herself. She's a liar. She's a manipulator. She has done nothing but have her brother attack. They demeaned my son's death. That is unforgivable. And when they did so, they made fun of every child that has died by an overdose in the city of New York. To say that she's in the U is such an overstatement. The only thing that the both of them know is how to manipulate the community. We are in a one-party rule because of her brother, Michael self-serving Rendino. We are in a one-party rule because all he has interest in is expansion of power within himself and his family. So they will never, ever get my support, ever. What they are going to get is this Albanian woman that will never lose sight of what they've done, their threats, their manipulation, their cop calling at the Board of Elections. I would dare anyone to foil the videos where they call the cops on me for doing absolutely nothing. They are bullies and they met their challenge. I will bully the bully, and I will bully anyone that attempts to bully this community and candidates that really work hard. They work hard at trying to make the difference. And her brother and herself have done nothing but cause so much strife in this process. It's despicable that she could sit there and say that she's about the you and community. They are not. and they will absolutely never get my support. They will get what has been coming to them, and that is the
100%.
truth for the community. Thank you.
Ms. Marmorato, you will get a chance to respond because your name was invoked after Mr. Havranek.
I'm flattered my line was stolen. I've been using you and community and unity for about 10 years in my civic association. So thank you for that. I'm flattered. Bottom line, let's look at the real picture. I'm going to answer the question. In CD 13, we have more cows than we have Republicans, right? Let's be honest. And in order to win, you need to have an independent ticket. I have an independent line. We the people. I finally got the word today that I am on it. I am good. I have 3 lines: Republican, Conservative, and Independent. Yes, I'm going to support the Republican candidate, no doubt, and I hope it's me. But in order to win, you need an independent. We have more blank voters here, unaffiliated voters, than you have Republican voters. So you need to sway them. So in order to be strategic to win an election, you have to have a good process. The process is to have a third-party line. That is part of the process. You don't have that, your chances of winning go down immensely. So the bottom line is you need to give voters an alternative that are afraid to put the D or the R there. And there are a lot of them. There are more of those than there are registered Republicans. So the bottom line is that's my strategy. Now, going forward, I am about unification. I'm about inclusion, bringing solutions. I'm about community, being common unity. And my line that I've been using at every civic meeting for the last, I don't know how many years, it's you that put the U in community and unity. And that's what I stand by.
Ms. Marmorato, you get a chance to respond. Obviously, your name was invoked. And then after that, we will then go to closing statements.
Samantha, I'm sorry about the passing of your son, and I'm sorry that you're so angry. But I have seen text messages between your team and my brother. And let me tell you something, you surround yourself with very bad people that are feeding you very bad information. You know Michael's heart. You've had conversations with him about these things on multiple occasions. And you know that these people are using this situation in a very unfortunate, horrible way. And I'm sorry for that.
Okay.
I have text messages. I'd like to respond to her. I have text messages from your brother, not one, but many, many that will soon go out into the community. I also have videos. So to say that my team is doing something to manipulate me, honey, I'm 54 years old. I fight conglomerates every day and I never lose a case. Do you think somebody's going to pull wool over my eyes? I don't think so. You and your brother are bullies. And you bullied my son's death. You brought my son from heaven into the realm of your dirtiness, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Okay, y'all. Okay. We're going to move on to closing statements. I'm going to ask, actually, that the candidates make their closing statements about themselves and the campaigns and what you're going to do to voters. We've had enough kind of pot shotting around. We do not need that more. We just need to know about why should anyone who's watching and why should anyone vote for you? So we'll move on to closing statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to speak. So the last person to speak was George. So go George. Actually, no. Emily, who was the last person to speak? Sorry, this has been such a long night.
I guess
Last person to speak officially in the order. I think it was her. It was George because Kristy spoke. Yeah. So we'll go George, and then we'll go Kristy, and then we'll go Samantha. 2 minutes, closing statements about you, your campaign, why should voters vote for you. Take the floor, George.
Simply, my campaign is a very, very easy thing. It's about unifying the community. That's what it's always been, from the civic domain all the way through what I'm doing now. We have faced obstacle after obstacle and overcome it. We have resiliency. We have what it takes. We have the endorsements that are needed to bring it home. We have endorsements from key Democrats. We have endorsements from key Republicans, even a surprise endorsements from the Young Republicans Club. a group of 18 to 38-year-olds that have been around for over 60 years. The bottom line is we have a plan in place. The strategy is to bring both sides together. We can do this because the bottom line is, at the end of the day, we want to make our communities better. We want to fill the obligation I alluded to before. We want to make our communities better so that way those that succeed us could raise their children and then pass it on to their children. We want to create stability. We want to create something that can be handed off to generation. We want to preserve diversity of lifestyle as well as diversity of population. We want to keep that slice of suburbia, the suburban life inside city environment. We want to keep the hustle and bustle areas for those that want that active lifestyle. We believe in inclusion. Inclusion brings the solution. And we're going to look at long-term solutions and not use short-term fixes. Because the bottom line is, if we want to keep and reap the blessings of our quality of life, all of us must endure the fatigue of supporting it. And remember one thing, when you go to that ballot box, georgehav.com for more information. Resumes matter. I'm George Hav. I approve this message. Do you?
Ms. Marmorato.
I am Kristy Marmorato, and I am the endorsed Republican candidate. Between all the mudslinging and bullying during this campaign, I have maintained my dignity and grace. And this is why the 5 Republican city council members have endorsed me. They want to work with me because they know that I am a good human being with common sense and who knows how to work well in a team setting with others. They know I will be a benefit to the city council. So all I ask for you is, if you want someone to listen to you and your concerns, regardless of your age, gender, religion, political affiliation, then I am your candidate. If you want someone to advocate for you, like I've advocated for my patients over the last 23 years, then I am your candidate. And if you want somebody with the strength, the energy, the determination to take this general election home, I am your candidate. So when you go to the polls this election, mark Kristy as number 1. Thank you.
And Ms. Zherka, take us home.
Hi. As a public advocate for over 20 years, 25 years to be exact, I have fought for the small guy. I have won every single case against billion-dollar companies who seek not to pay when they're responsible to do so. I negotiate deals. I'm a contractor. I build homes. I own various businesses, all of them which are 100% success. I'm a real property owner as well. I'm a self-made woman. And doing so, I'm capable of negotiating across the aisles and getting the job done. Unlike the other candidates who don't have any proven record, I ran for state Senate 34 and won the district in surmounting numbers. I ran and I won against a Democrat, which has not happened in over 20 years. Lee Zeldin did not carry me. What it shows is that Democrats came off the line and voted for Samantha Zherka because they knew that I was a common sense mom who will fight for everyone like a mother fights for her child. I will stop at nothing to ensure that our children's future is secure with trade school options as early as 9th grade in our high schools. We end the vicious cycle of poverty and we bring self-sufficiency back. That is what's important, bringing safety to our seniors and to everyone that lives in District 13, making sure that our children are self-sufficient and bringing back common sense. Bringing a mother like me to the floor is the best opportunity for anyone. These 2 other candidates will not beat Marjorie Velasquez. They have no proven record. I do. Take a look at the numbers. I beat a Democrat and I will do so again.
Thank y'all for participating in this forum. This concludes the Republican primary debate for the 13th City Council District. Important to know, this Saturday is early voting. So go out there and vote June 17th. And then primary day itself is June 27th. Visit the Board of Elections website at vote.nyc to find your early polling site and local polling place. It may have changed last time, you never know. And every election, large or small, is an important one, so please vote. Thank you to the participants for participating and debating. Thank you for the viewers for watching. Have a great evening, and I hope everyone has a great time.
Thank you.